Episode 1, The Great Ruckus in Paradise, Part 4. A few minutes later, Sho had moved with Palti to her house. "Excuse me, Sho, could you wait here for a moment?" "Oh, yes." After preparing tea and sweets for Sho, Palti took a change of clothes and went upstairs. She quickly changed her clothes and came down. Her appearance was already the resolute, normal Palti. "Sorry to keep you waiting." I'm not waiting at all." "Thank you, Sho." Palti sat upright across the table, directly across from Sho. Apparently, she had already made up her mind. He could see that from her expression, and more importantly, when she said with a serious gaze, "Sho, how much do you know about this matter?" So Sho sat upright and then spoke back just as seriously. "All I've heard is that Palti's mom is." "I see." Palti gently lowered her eyes for a moment, then quickly looked up and said, "Sho, I'd like you to keep this conversation to yourself for now." "Yeah, but is that a good story for me to hear, though?" "Yes, I want Sho to hear it." "Yes, I understand." He nodded. Then Palti nodded as well. "My mother was arrested for violating the Gene Use Act. She was arrested for violating the Genetic Use Act and the Human Rights Protection Act for that. Then there's the murder charge." Huh. Hearing the truth, Sho was mildly confused. It was a bigger story than he had expected. "I also learned for the first time that I was a child born through artificial insemination." Artificial insemination? Yes. That in itself is not particularly unusual, but the problem is the source of the sperm and egg. The source is Palti's father and mother, isn't it? It was an obvious thought. But Palti shook her head lightly. "I hadn't told Sho this, but I don't have a father. My mother had told me that he died before I was born, but it seems that there was no genetic link between my late father and me." "What?" "Then the sperm that was used was..." "Yes, it was from a different person." "What do you mean?" "As you know, Sho, my mother is a very proud person. And she took an unusual amount of pride in being a collateral member of the Jurai royal family." Then Palti huffed and pressed her lips together. Sho realized that the secret of Palti's birth was that she was a member of the Jurai royal family. He had asked Tommy about it before. "Oh, sorry, Palti, I've heard from Tommy before that you are, well, a princess." "Oh, that's right." Palti looked a little surprised, but quickly regained her original calm expression. "You pretended not to know, until now for my sake." "Thank you, Sho." "Oh no." Palti gave a small bow then continued. "But it's only a sideline. And I guess my mother couldn't stand the fact that we are descendants of someone who lost a power struggle, was exiled, and became a pirate. I heard that she repeatedly asked for reinstatement to the Jurai royal family and was denied each time. There's no such thing as. Then Palti's real father is. I don't have any details. But I'm pretty sure he was a member of the Jurai royal family." Then Sho remembered what Palti had said about violating gene usage laws. Apparently, the matter of her father was a very delicate matter. That's why he couldn't ask Palti any more questions about it. Perhaps realizing Sho's feeling from his expression, Palti said, "I understand Sho's question. Why was my mother caught violating the gene usage law? How on earth did she get the sperm?" "They say they are still investigating, but they have been able to identify who it belonged to. But there are a lot of problems with revealing it, and they haven't been able to tell us who it is." "Yes, what is it?" "Yes, but I was told that it belonged to someone who has already passed away, but..." There, Palti's expression twisted in bitterness. "Palti." Palti uttered the rest with a small shudder. But my mother has killed a number of people for it. Her marriage to my father was also a cover for her to give birth to me through artificial insemination. To prevent people from finding out where the sperm came from, she chose my father, who was an orphan, and married him and faked an accident." The sheer cruelty of the truth. Sho was at a loss for words. From Palti's words, from her expression, he could sense a strong sense of anger. "That's not all. Even the doctor who was in charge of insemination and fostering my mother had a hand in it. And I had a memory of it." "Memories what?" "My memories are only from around the age of 6. My mother said that it was because I was very ill shortly after I was born and had to be treated in isolation, but that's a lie. After all, she thought that raising a child was a hassle." Palti's anger was accompanied by sadness. Sho could see that as well. And the agent was curious about my trauma, which Sho also knew was claustrophobia and that time, when I lost my mind and went on a rampage. Sho recalled. Polti had always been uncomfortable in small spaces. Besides, he remembered that when Myron had smeared mud all over her face at the lake camp, she had become aggressive like a different person. On that note, I had a deep psychological scan the other day. As a result, as the investigators had predicted, they found the source of the problem in my memories from when I was an infant. The trembling in Polti's body increased. Polti, if it's too painful, no more. No, listen to me. But I have one request. Huh? Polti stood up and came over and sat down next to Sho again, holding Sho's hand with a sullen look on her pale face. Can you please stay like this for a bit? Polti. Perhaps what she was about to say would take a tremendous amount of courage for her. Polti, who was always so dignified and firm, looked as unreliable as a little girl at this moment. Yeah, okay. With a small nod, Sho squeezed Polti's hand tightly back. Thank you, Sho. There, the shaking in Polti's body lessened, and she began to talk about her past, which must have been painful. I could see the memories as they were replayed. There I was in a small case. It was probably for childcare. What I heard was heated arguments and screams. And the next thing I saw was the bloody face of a woman who was not my mother, peering at me. Polti took a deep breath there. Sho squeezed her hand again. Good luck, he said, meaning it. In the next moment, the sad face smiled gently, and with a gunshot, a large amount of blood from the woman's mouth poured onto my face. But a warm hand wiped my eyelids as my vision was blocked. And when I opened my eyes, the woman was smiling gently at me. Polti looked gentler than before as she said this. Looking at that woman's smile made me feel very safe for some reason. It was as if she was my real mother, even. Then Polti's expression twisted again. Someone must have tried to rip me out of the case. The woman was desperately clinging to my case. It was as if she was trying to protect me. The woman looked at me and smiled, as if to say, it's okay. But after a few shots, the woman finally ran out of steam and disappeared from the case. And the next woman's face that peeked out was that of my mother. It stared at me with an ugly, twisted smile, as if it were looking at me with filth, as if it was covered in blood, and the last thing it did was to quickly turn its face away. The lid of the case was closed, and in the darkness, I cried out in terror, and then I lost consciousness. When she finished telling him the whole story, Polti's face was covered in a terrible greasy sweat. He wondered how much pain she had gone through to tell him. How much pain she must be feeling right now. Sho felt that he understood a little more about it. It's no wonder he was so exhausted when he found out about the fact that he was stuck at home. So that was Polti's trauma, wasn't it? Polti nodded silently at Sho's words. Her trauma, Sho realized, was the reason why she had lost her mind when Myron had smeared mud on her face before, and the reason for her claustrophobia. But there was nothing Sho could say. He didn't know how to encourage her. No matter how you look at it, you can't follow Polti's mother. No matter what the purpose of the birth, if the mother had developed some kind of love, it might have helped. However, Polti's mother, whom Sho met through the monitor before, didn't seem to have any such thing. No matter how deep the rift is between them at this point, as long as they had a normal parent-child relationship when they were young, it would have provided Polti with emotional support. I'm scared. Huh? Polti squeezed Sho's hand tightly. Even if it's only half, I have my mother's blood in my veins. There's even a part of me that was raised by that mother and influenced by her and dependent on her. I am horrified by it. No matter how much I hate it, there's no guarantee that I won't turn on Sho. Okay. Polti is absolutely fine. I know it hasn't been that long since I met you, but I can tell you that you are kind and caring. I'm sure you'll make a good mother in the future. Sho spoke so passionately that he couldn't help but stand up. Polti was stunned to see Sho like that, and then smiled weakly and said, Thank you very much, Sho. The tear-streaked smile was still painful, though. Still, Sho hoped from the bottom of his heart that his words and his thoughts would be able to support and save Polti, even if only a little. Minamata would probably be more convincing. Minamata's words would be more convincing, as he had a lot of life experience and a simple but kind heart, despite his bad luck that could have caused him mental collapse. However, the words of a child like himself do not have such power yet. Just as Sho was thinking this, he suddenly heard the sound of the doorbell. At the same time, he heard Minamata's voice coming from the doorway. Sho quickly looked at Palti's face. She gave a small nod. The two of them went to the door together to greet Minamata. I was told I should be picking you up soon. Can I come in? Yes, I just had a question I wanted to ask you. Please come in. Yeah, thanks. Palti sat down next to Sho, while Minamata sat down facing them. Minamata then glanced at Sho, before shifting his attention to Palti. Apparently, you've calmed down a bit. Yes. Palti looked at Sho, a little embarrassed. Well, good. So, is there something you want to ask me? Yes. If Minamata-san, who has lived with tremendous probability bias, were in my position, what on earth would you do? Eh? Minamata made a small noise under Palti's sullen eyes. I knew you'd find out. Sorry. I was going to keep quiet, but I really want to ask your opinion, Minamata. No, it's fine. Thank you for pretending not to know. Minamata began to speak, looking somewhat refreshed. If I were in your shoes, yeah, I'm sure I'd be dealing with a lot of the same things. I think I need a lot of time to get back on my feet. I see. But that's normal, you know. And it's not your fault at all. Don't hold on to it too much. Yes. I think I understand, but I think I know what I'm doing, but my emotions are not with me. That's the way it is sometimes, Sho thought, worried about Palti next to him. As for your mother, I want you to leave everything to us regarding her future and the compensation for the victims and their families. I've already gotten the approval of the Jurai Guild. Naturally, your position will remain as it is, but you may decline the role. Of course, you will not be penalized for that at all. But, look, Palti, you don't have to feel any guilt about your mother's actions and the victims in this case. You're one of the victims, after all. But I must have been a factor in causing the incident myself. I can't believe I'm going to live my life without caring about anything like that. For the victims and their families, the most effective way to relieve their resentment towards Palti's mother would be to get rid of Palti, the person who had done so much to get her. Palti was worried about her own life. Sho could see that. Isn't that against the will of the person who tried to help you? Palti huffed and opened her eyes. You were trying to help me? You mean that person's? Minamata nodded, and Sho could guess that this was the person Palti had mentioned earlier. She was a so-called mole doctor who dealt with the bottom rung of the pirate ladder. But she was quite a character. Her neighbors and patients trusted her, and she was well-liked. In addition, she had studied at the academy for a short time, so she must have been a skilled doctor. Was that person like? Yes. Your mother was so desperate to have a child that she decided to undergo artificial insemination. But the more she got to know your mother, the more she questioned her motives for insemination. And as she did some research, she realized the source of the sperm that was brought in for insemination. Once she realized that, she should have just left me alone and run away. Originally, my mother was the one to keep her mouth shut when it was all over. But she knew that your mother was going to do that even before she knew the truth. Sho and Palti were both astonished. So, why then? She had many other patients to take care of. But there was something more that bothered me about you. Things that bothered you? To Palti's question, Minamata nodded and continued. How your mother feels about you being born as a tool. Whatever your mother's intentions were in giving birth to you, she thought it would be fine as long as she loved you. But, at least at that point, all your mother had was a sense of honor. She told them to use sleep study and memory implants to rapidly grow you up to about 6 years old. That woman is. Palti's expression was again filled with anger. Knowing your mother's thoughts on such matters, she decided to entrust you to a certain family. The owner of the sperm that was used to artificially inseminate you, your father was already deceased, but that family is still alive and well. What? In my father's family? Palti was surprised. It seemed to be a surprising fact to her. Huh? I don't know why I never questioned that before. I didn't think so. Oh. It's been ingrained in your deep psyche to not ask questions about your father. Palti was shocked, but her eyes were sad as she quickly accepted the truth. That's right. Knowing what you've been through, it's not surprising. But it seems that it wasn't easy for her to get in touch with your father's family back then. Even if she had been able to contact them in the first place, they were unlikely to protect a child born that way. In the journal she kept, she wrote words of regret and apology for carelessly giving birth to you, you know. No way. And, you know, even if I couldn't leave you to your father's family and you had to live with your mother, hopefully, you would be happy. That's what was written at the end of the journal. Why? Sho was slightly flustered, but he couldn't interrupt her, so he just had to stand next to her and watch her. Why are you doing that much for me? What am I supposed to do? First of all, you have to break the bond with your mother. The reason you feel so indebted to the victims and the bereaved families is because deep down you want to bond with your mother. You want to feel connected to your mother by standing in the face of the victims and their families. Palti froze in shock at Minamida's words, her anxious expression resembling that of a small child who had wandered off. This is for the sake of the victims and the bereaved families, as well as for your mother's sake. It is unfortunate for the bereaved that they have the wrong target to hate. Obscuring the criteria for hatred will spread hatred, and eventually everything in the world will seem hateful. It will not only make the bereaved unhappy, but also those around them. And taking away the achievements that they enjoy from your existence will be revenge for the bereaved. Hearing this, Sho immediately understood what Minamida was trying to say. Wait a minute. Does that mean you're going to take her mother away from Palti? You mean you're going to take her away? Kukomakuen. To her mother, Palti is like a drug. The money and honor that she can enjoy from it is a pleasure for her, and she is dependent on it. Just because it's such a... Next to Sho's confusion, however, Palti said quietly, I understand. Please do so. More large tears spilled from Palti's eyes. Seeing this, Sho's feelings rose even higher. Minamida-san. But that makes Palti really happy. When Sho was about to shout so, Palti grabbed Sho's hand and squeezed it tightly. It was as if she wanted him to say no more. Palti. It's okay, Sho. Thanks for being mad for me. With that being said, Sho couldn't say anything else. I'm sorry, Minamida. I got mad at. No, it's okay. Sho took a deep breath to calm himself and sat back down. In the slightly tense air, Minamida asked Palti. Palti, you asked me earlier what I would do, didn't you? Yes. Palti nodded, still crying, but looking calmer. Well, let's talk a little bit about the past. My parents, especially my mother, were troubled by this unhappy nature, or characteristic of mine. Well, bias in probability is naturally a cult on Earth, and in fact, I only thought that I was unlucky. But I didn't have a guardian at that time. I was born into all sorts of mortal danger. Minamida said nostalgically. Sho and Palti listened quietly. But it seems that most of the injuries were caused by the carelessness of the adults, so no one thought that I was the cause of it. But I was injuring myself so much that people were wondering if I was born under an unlucky star. After I started crawling, cuts, scrapes, bruises, and other small injuries that didn't require a trip to the hospital were a regular occurrence. It was only once a month that I was rushed to the hospital with a serious injury, sometimes an injury that could have killed me. This went on for so long that my parents seemed to have realized that the cause was me. After that, I went to shrines and temples, exorcisms, and eventually I was on the verge of resorting to a dubious new religion. But by that time I seemed to have become a celebrity in many places. I guess I knew that if I messed with them carelessly, I would get hurt. I heard that the people who approached me for money avoided me. Well, that's spectacular. Such a past is. Both Sho and Palti were aghast. Well, because I was in such a state, rumors spread that if you were with me, you'd get caught up in misfortune, and of course, the neighborhood kids stopped playing with me altogether. I still remember that time very well. Until I started kindergarten. I was all alone all the time. I see. Yeah. How do you think I found a kindergarten that would let me in? I think it'll be easier to talk about why later, so I'll just keep talking for now. Sho and Palti nodded. Minamida nodded and continued. So, on my first day at the park, I met a very important friend who changed my life. Sho and Palti's faces brightened a little as Minamida looked pleased. That guy was very proactive in talking to me. We got to know each other so well that we went to his house that day. I met his sister and mother there. They knew about my constitution, but they weren't scared or creeped out by me at all. On the contrary, her sister became like a protector for me. She even stood up to kids who bullied me and adults who spread rumors about me. Haha. She was very brave, like a fierce tiger. I'm still the same, but anyway, I'm grateful to him for helping me grow up. Minamata. You have a good connection. Minamata spoke happily, and both Sho and Palti were equally pleased. And they guessed at the same time. Sho and Palti were equally happy to hear that Minamata's friend's sister was the one who was still supporting Minamata. Yes. So, in the village where my friend lives, they are all related. They welcomed me with open arms. My mother told me later that when she went to her friend's house to thank her, she was so grateful and relieved that she burst into tears. It was because of the support of the people of that village that I and my family were able to walk this far without straying from the path. That's a good story, Sho thought honestly. And it must be the same for Palti. Sho felt that way as Palti smiled and listened to him. Minamata said, and I'm sure that the people in that village for me are also there for Palti. At Minamata's words, Palti gasped and looked at Minamata. I grew up with the support of the people of my village, and eventually I got to go into space. And once I was in space, I met many more people who also supported me. And don't we have such people here for Palti? Kukomakuen, Dird, Aaliyah, Apuesta, Miss Myron, Tommy, and the rest of the islanders, and of course me, and she's one of them. Minamata then reached into his pocket and produced a translucent plate the size of a business card. What's this? Palti asked as she accepted the plate and stared at it. It's a copy of the journal left by that lady doctor who tried to help you. The doctor? Yeah, nodded Minamata. If you read it, you'll understand why she acted the way she did. Then again, it wasn't for nothing that she tried to contact Palti's paternal clan. Huh? Well, what's that all about? As you might have guessed, the family of the one who fathered you is the royal family of Jurai. I can't tell you the details yet, and I'd like this story itself to stop here for now. Minamata looked at Sho and Palti alternately and stopped speaking. Sho and Palti looked at each other, nodded at each other, and answered at the same time. Yes. With that reply, Minamata nodded and resumed his story. The reason why we found out Palti's identity is because Jurai's clan was actually searching for you in secret when they were contacted by the doctor. But the doctor who contacted them died and they were left in limbo. It was only after I went up into space too that they started to make any progress, but it wasn't until recently that they were able to find any clues. In any case, the place where the doctor was is a bit of a mess. A troublesome place? Sho couldn't imagine what it would be like, Minamata answered. Yeah, it was in the big Daruma. What? Oh, you mean the home of the Daruma Guild. Palti was surprised, and Sho was quick to interject. Well, I think that guild is the place where Apuesta was, right? Yes. It was the largest pirate guild at the time, and its home base was a planet-sized fortress ship called the Big Daruma. It was constantly on the move, and its route was a well-kept secret that even the guild's executives were not informed of, and it was also known as a ghost ship. Wow! So, it's no wonder it was so difficult to make contact with it. Palti nodded, then she turned to Minamata and said, by the way, how did the GP side manage to find it? Yeah, it was just a coincidence. Huh. Minamata chuckled, but spoke the truth. Actually, my ship got a new power-up item, and when we made the first long jump of its test voyage out into normal space, we ran into it by accident. What? You mean that was true? Palti was indeed taken aback by that, and shouted out loud without thinking. Haha. Everyone on board was surprised at that time, including me. Well, that's just bad luck or good luck again, but from our side, it's inexcusable. From their conversation, Sho somehow understood the greatness of Minamata. But were you okay with suddenly encountering such an amazing ship? It was just a test voyage, wasn't it? Sho's question was answered by Palti. Because Minamata-san's ship is not normal. The power-up item is probably something Jurai-related, right? That's what I meant. So, it's good that we were finally able to investigate, but as expected, it took a long time to examine a large planet-sized ship. It was about 12 hours before they arrested your mother that they found the logbook and discovered where the doctor had been living. Because Jurai was doing a background check on me, right? That's why the journal and my findings connect so quickly too. Yes. So Palti, you have two options. Minamata's voice sharpened. One is to continue to fight here on Banjo Island as the guild's representative. And the other is, you can decline to be the representative and become a member of the Jurai royal family. After hearing those words, Palti was speechless for a while, and so was Sho. It's Jurai's idea. It's already been approved by the Supreme Council. The choice is yours. At Minamata's slightly softened expression and voice, Palti fumbled for words, still in a panic. What? Oh, but I'm not. No, more importantly, why did Jurai, who did not accept my mother's request for belonging, take me and others? Is it still because of my father's genes? No, that's not it. It's just a front to say that she saw what you've been doing and decided that you have the qualities to be a member of the royal family. She simply wants to meet you. She read the doctor's journal and received her thoughts. She wanted to make you happy, that's what she thought. So, became. Tears spilled from both of Palti's eyes again. However, Sho and Minamata both knew that these were different tears than the ones from earlier. I said earlier that there were two options, but the difference is whether we go over there right away or after the battle is settled. Of course, there's also the option of not going, but I'm sure you wouldn't choose that, would you? Anyway, you have a lot of friends who care about you. There are many people who will support you. Even if the bond with your mother is severed, you can weave new bonds. Besides, children will leave their parents one day and create their own world. Your life is just beginning. And the same can be said for your mother. No matter how long it takes, if your mother can repent and atone for her own sins, she can even weave a bond with you again. Yes, that's right, Palti. Palti nodded tearfully at Minamata and Sho's words. Yes, she replied, nodding again and again. Now, then I know I'm supposed to be out of your way, so it makes sense for me to just go home, but leaving you alone with Shokuen again is a bit much for Miss Myron, Dird, and the others. Yes, I understand. But can you wait just a little longer? Okay, I'll wait outside then. Minamata agreed and quietly got up to leave the room. Then only Sho and Palti remained. Palti. Sho. From Palti's expression, she no longer felt as fragile as before, as if she would break if he touched her. Sho could see that there was a strong life force in her eyes. Thank you, Sho. Huh? No, I'm not doing anything really. No. I feel like everything has changed since Sho searched for me and came to me. Since I came? Yes. I feel very strange. I have lived in a civilized society that is much more advanced than this Earth, and yet I feel like I am learning many things here that I never knew before. I'm sure that's due in large part to my encounter with Sho. Well, I'm a little embarrassed to hear you say that. But it's the same for me. The same, huh? Yes. Palti and the others are very similar to us Earthlings in appearance, way of thinking, and personality, right? From my point of view, you girls are just like the aliens in the stories. I used to think that there were no such people, but when I met you, I was moved by the fact that such things could happen. Oh, I'm sorry if I offended you. No. I think it's kind of a cute idea. Yeah, I guess so. But, you know, the fact that me and Palti and the others met like that, it's like a miracle if you think about it normally. I mean, other than me, people on Earth never get to meet people from outer space like this. Yes, that's true. Sho, what would you think if we were the only ones in the universe? Huh? Sho replied, pondering the question. Lonely, I guess? I mean, if that's the case, I might think it's boring. I'm sure they thought so too. They are the people who lived during the period known as the Great Prehistoric Civilization. They realized that their civilization was beginning to decline, so they implemented something called the Seed Project. The Seed Project? Sho quickly asked back, as the words came out unfamiliar. Yes, almost without exception, the main goal of all living things is to preserve their own species. So, when they became aware of the decline of their own species, they decided to regenerate their own species in the galaxy. That is the Seed Project. Hey, it looks like you're studying the history of the universe. What exactly did you learn about that? Are you interested in that? It's a grand thing, starting with changing orbits, planetary modification, the development of life forms, and encouraging the development and evolution of the human species. Huh? You can do that. The result is what we are, you know. Of course, there have been far more failures. Recent research suggests that there must have been trillions of ships, large and small, sent into space by the Seed Project. That many? It's amazing. I wonder if it's just a case of shooting a few bad shots. And there are a lot of higher life forms in the galaxy that don't look like us. And it's amazing that half of them is the result of the Seed Project, which is different from the great prehistoric civilizations. Some of them are even from other galaxies. Oh, the scale is so huge that it doesn't seem real at all. Now it's highly likely that similar things are being done all over the universe. Oh, and one more thing, Sho. How long do you think we live? Huh? Even for us Earthlings, it's amazing if we can go 100 years old, so. I guess, for Palti and the others, double that, like 200 years. Unfortunately, no. Now, I can live for 1,000 years or so without having to do anything. Really? 1,000 years. 2,000 years if you apply bioenhancement. Some people have already lived for tens of thousands of years. Wow. I can't even imagine what that would be like. That's how little generational change we've had and how little our consciousness has changed. We don't change as drastically, but our lifespan as a species is longer, so we have a greater chance of meeting other species, just like I met Sho. Ah, I see. That's true. If you can live that long in such an amazing civilization, isn't it? That's what I mean. But I'm not, and I'm sure Dird and the others aren't either, but after coming to Earth like this and meeting Sho, I'm sure we're changing. And for the better. What change? Yes, Palti nodded and gently placed a hand on her chest. Then, taking a breath, she told him, so, please let me thank you. Thank you, Sho. There was no longer a dark shadow on Palti's face as she smiled at him. You're welcome. Thanks to you too, Palti. Sho smiled just as brightly. A few minutes later, Sho stepped outside by himself. Minamata-san. I'm sorry, please wait a little longer. Yeah, I know. It takes time for a woman to get ready, you know. As if to rebuke Minamata's snarky line, the Cabots immediately replied. Mia. One of them tapped Minamata on the head with her ear. Huh? And the others were there too. Yeah. As expected, Palti wouldn't want a lot of people to hear that story. I asked them to wait outside. I see. By the way, Minamata-san, you're always with M-san and the others. As Sho crouched down, a Cabot hopped over to him. Somehow, Sho knew it was F, so he gently patted her head. Then F's face beamed with happiness. I guess so. Since they already know who I am, I guess I can tell you. Huh? Tell me what? Sho questioned, and each of the 4 Cabots nodded. Actually, you see, I'm having the girls correct the bias in the probabilities. What? Oh, what do you mean? Well, to put it simply, I'm having my spectacularly bad luck offset by the good luck of the girls. If I didn't, I would have caused a ruckus involving Kokomakuin and the others. I see. So that's what happened. Yeah. For now, I'm having at least one of them stay with me at all times. As long as the other 3 are in the middle range of the island, there's no danger of involving anyone else in it. Well, sometimes all 4 of them can't be with me, like when Kokoma is in training. In those cases, I try to stay home and stay put. Wow! When I heard about Minamata-san's bad luck, I didn't really understand it because I only saw you being chased by Myron-sensei. So that's what it was. Haha. Miss Myron will be very angry if she hears you talking like that. Is that so? The 2 of them laughed at each other. I see. So, you were trying to push Myron-sensei on me. Yeah, sorry. The 2 remained silent and looked up at the sky for a while. Speaking of which, what prompted Minamata-san to go up into space? You skipped that part in your explanation earlier, didn't you? Oh yes, that's right. Actually, the village I told you about earlier, the one that accepted me, is the village where the descendants of Jurai's first empress lived. What? Really? I got a GP entrance pamphlet there by accident, and the next thing I knew, I was taken to space, through the same route that Kokomakuin's mother got. I see. Then again, maybe Kokomakuen has a bias of probability to follow the same path as me? Maybe I should ask someone I know to check it out next time. Or did my probability bias affect you somehow? Haha. But because of that I got to meet Minamata-san, M-san and the others, Dird and the others, and everyone on the island. I was confused at first, but I don't regret coming to Banjo Island anymore. I see. Kokomakuen gave me a hard time, too. I'm glad to hear you say that. The two men, who had something strange in common, laughed at each other and paid respect to each other. Just as they were about to break off their conversation, Palti came outside. Excuse me. Sorry to keep you waiting. Palti, are you okay now? Yes. Thank you, Sho, I'm fine. Palti smiled at him. She was already her usual self. Minamata pulled his back away from the wall he was leaning against and said, Let's go then. I've already contacted Dird and the others. What? They're waiting for you. At Minamata's words, Palti paused for a moment before cheerfully saying, Yes, let's go. Oh, it's Palti. Hey guys. Palti's here. Hey Palti. Damn, finally. Sho, Palti, thank goodness. Oh man. Damn, how much are you going to make us worry about you? Why are you being so bossy, Mike? Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Ho ho ho. I guess it's all settled. Pie, pie, pie. Pie. Dird, Aaliyah, Apuesta, Mike, Ichiro, Karusha, Tommy, the rest of the classmates, the Islanders, and even P and Pio. Sho and Palti stopped in their tracks, Palti's eyes already moistening. Well, go ahead. Minamata said, gently pushing Palti's back. Minamata-san. Yes. Palti turned once and then ran off to join Dird and the others. Palti replied happily to each of them, and beautiful tears streamed down her cheeks. Shokuen and Minamata, thank you for your hard work. We're all ready for the party. As Sho and Minamata looked at Palti and the others, Myron, wearing a white coat, called out to them. Myron-sensei. Miss Myron, I'm sorry you had to go through all that too. I didn't do much to prepare for the feast. We're going to drink until morning. Shokuen and Minamata, come with me. What? I can't drink. Haha. Well, don't get too carried away. Thanks to Minamata, Tommy, and Myron's arrangement, there was more food than all of them could eat, and the adults enjoyed drinking, and the children enjoyed the food and juice.